I'm Dave.
And welcome to the Lois and Dave Always Right show.
Good stuff. Well, indeed, welcome to everybody here. And Lois, I think you're kicking things off with this nature bill that's going through.
Well, yeah, and how interesting. I mean, so if we'd been doing this show a couple of days ago, I would have started this with a big rant about how horrific it is. And of course, the climate and nature bill that's being proposed is horrific. But I was of the belief, wrongly it seemed, that it was going to be just rubber stamped through Parliament, like the Climate Act in the noughties by Ed Miliband. But I've been told it's a private member's bill and it's being debated today. And bizarrely, now I think there's something a bit weird going on actually. The Labour Party, the MPs have been told that if they vote for this bill, not against it, but for it, they'll have the whip removed. Now, call me cynical, but this bill is exactly what they all believe in. Okay, so it's all about the whole massive, insane pursuit of net zero. And within this bill is the ability for the government to be able to take your property without your permission or your land for rewilding, compulsory purchase orders for rewilding and for use by solar and wind farms. It means that you would have a carbon footprint passport in effect about how much you could travel, even how much you can spend on certain things like meat, stuff like that. So very, very similar to the social credit system in China. So not a conspiracy theory, an actual thing that's happening right now in a country that we deal with constantly. Within the bill was going to be all sorts of insane things. I mean, we're already doing a lot of it already, completely stopping our fossil fuel production. As I say, the whole thing was going to be completely and utterly mad. And it was to be debated and then go through to committee stage. It does have a huge amount of support. Now, as it stands, I'm not sure when we're recording this, I'm not entirely sure what's happened. So apologies to our viewers for that. But it does seem to me that with the government telling their MPs to not vote for this bill, obviously it's not going to go through. Sure. So, but how strange, because how bad would it have looked if it had just been rubber stamped through Parliament? I don't know. It looks to me like there's a bit of a faux thing going on here, not FOE, but FAUX, where it looks like there's resistance, but actually something possibly very similar will be put through Parliament at some point in the future and rubber stamped all the way through. Sure, I don't know. Maybe I've got old-fashionedly cynical in there since COVID. Anyway, so there you go. Climate and nature bill. What a load of rubbish.
That's absolutely awful, isn't it? But no, I should imagine there are some people in Parliament who are licking their lips at passing legislation like that, like this. But by the end of the Labour Party term of government, this country is going to be in financial ruin. We already have the world's most expensive energy. My brother's got a 6-7 bedroom detached house in Colorado, and he's well. No, do you know Microsoft SQL Server? Do you know a piece of software called Microsoft SQL Server is a database?
Oh right, well, not personally.
Oh, okay,
yeah, I do know.
You know of it. He basically invented it.
Oh, that's amazing! But in America, the energy costs are 8 times cheaper, aren't they? So having a 7-bedroom house.
Yeah, indeed, yeah, exactly. I think his energy bills per month are $100, 80 quid.
What, a month?
A month.
That's absolute madness.
I know.
I mean, the day before yesterday, there was no wind. Yeah, none whatsoever. Not 1%, not 0.1%, but there was no energy from wind, and we paid nearly 300 quid per kilowatt hour for our energy on that particular day. It's normally around £113, which is very high. £60 of that is carbon tax, by the way. But in Norway, you can buy the gas to produce the energy for 17 quid. So recently we had a day where we paid 5,000 quid per kilowatt hour just to keep the lights on. And apparently in London, but it was covered up very recently to stop the lights going off completely and total chaos. £9,000 per kilowatt hour paid to keep the lights on in London, and obviously Sadiq Khan would have been completely involved.
Well, I shouldn't wish us any harm here, but I just like to have a power cut.
Oh no, don't say that. I know what you're saying, though.
In a sense, in a way, just to show us what life will be like. I'm old enough to remember the 3-day week, and the electricity people went on strike, and you'd have electricity in the morning up until 8 o'clock at night, and so you'd watch the TV at 8 o'clock. Then you'd have to light the candles up, and that's how you heat and lit your house up at the time.
Well, I think absolutely, and without wishing to make you feel old, my dad told me about that as well. but what I will say is, it's you and I know you and I live online. Everything's online. All of the doors and stuff to big buildings, everything is online. I mean, there'd be absolute civil unrest if we had no electricity now. It would be chaos. People would be locked in, locked out.
Sure. Well, I think something like that. And I think some of the blowback from Southport as well. The Labour Party won't be able to last its full length. I think the people are going to be so angry about the party. And if there's one thing, if you want to get your economy going, which is going to work, is if you lower fuel costs.
Cheap and plentiful energy. Well, they don't absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. And by the way, have you seen the work of Lord Christopher Monckton?
I know Lord Monckton very well, and his work. Yeah, in fact, he was supposed to be at the event that you came to launch the Heartland Institute UK in Europe in December. But in my previous incarnation with the Climate Realism organisation that I set up, Car 26, Lord Monckton was massively involved. But sorry, carry on.
I met him a couple of times. The last time I bumped into him, I didn't have room for it. But he produced these papers as to what would happen if Britain went actually went net zero and the world went net zero. How much? Oh, well, indeed, yeah. Assuming that, we economically would live in a stone age. But the point is, if Britain went completely to net zero in 2030, world temperatures would go down by 0.001 degrees C.
And that's even debatable.
Indeed. Yeah. And also as well, if the world went net zero, including China, Japan, India, the main polluters, world temperatures would decrease by 0.1 degrees C.
It's madness. We're in an interglacial period. I mean, I've said this a million times, but it is worth repeating for new viewers. We've had much warmer periods before in the UK. We were growing grapes in Manchester during the medieval warming period. The Roman warming period. We've had the medieval warming period. And actually, funnily enough, during those periods where it's been a little bit warmer, have been times of great economic prosperity for the United Kingdom. And of course, it's much, much better to be warm than to be cold, So
indeed. Well, it's the old one, 9 times as many people die of cold than they die of the heat.
Yeah, so, absolutely right. I'm turning my phone off. It's very unprofessional of me, Dave. I'm turning it off because somebody just rung, and that's not professional. So apologies.
No problems at all. So okay. So so there we are. So
what a week.
Go on.
What a week. Talk to me, Dave, because this is your area. We've had this horrific we knew that the Southport murderer was guilty, but the things that come out in court, it's been awful. Talk to us about that.
Sure, yes, Axel Ruda Bacana has been found guilty He's been sentenced to the prison for the rest of his life for the minimum of 52 years. It is thought that he will never ever be released. So it's effective. Gotta say,
I'd be surprised if he lasts a week. To be fair,
well, indeed.
I will be surprised if he lasts a week.
You don't want to sound statistical, but the fact he comes, if he comes to a quick end from some of the lags in there, or whether his life, over 50 years, 52 years is going to be completely not worth living. Take your pick on that one. I personally, I think, to my mind, that murder crosses a threshold for capital punishment. My threshold is the crime has to be that heinous. And the second one is you have to raise the bar from reasonable doubt to any doubt. And he crossed that line because he was standing there over a body with a knife in his hand.
Yeah, and, I know exactly what you're saying. I'm totally torn on capital punishment, because for every case which is like this, where someone's literally standing over the victim,
sure.
There are cases where people are found guilty and then later exonerated, and
Sure.
I wouldn't trust the state to run a bath. So the state having
sure.
life and death jurisdiction
Sure.
does scare me.
Yeah,
But
sure.
I have complete sympathy with what you're saying with these kind of situations. Of course, this guy.
Indeed, yeah.
If anyone deserves it, it's this guy, isn't it?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. No, I know. Also, the other two that come to mind were the killers of Lee Rigby, Akinbola brothers. And that crosses the threshold. They were seen there with meat cleavers in their hand, with blood all over it. And they were eyewitnesses. There was
you're right. When it's not reasonable doubt, but any doubt whatsoever. I have a lot of sympathy with that.
Yeah, with all doubt. Yeah, so there's anything about it. I probably wouldn't be respectful or the decent to go into what the guy did when in those sort of 20 odd minutes he was there, 54 minutes butchering the little girls in there. I've read it, and I've also been told some stuff that you wouldn't.
I know that you're in contact with one of the survivors' families. Is that right?
Yeah, I spoke to I spoke to the person this morning. Yeah. I mean, he's had a really rough time, and he really is critical of the way the government has dealt with it, from a victim and family point of view.
Oh, really? What, in terms of how they liaised with the survivors' families?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's very little support. Very little support. You want to go and see a psychiatrist or a counsellor or whatever. You got to phone up your GP. Oh yeah. We've got
anyone can do that.
Yeah, well, sort of, yeah.
That's not a specialist service that they put on, is it?
Sure, yeah, indeed. But if you want to access it via the NHS, you got to phone up your GP. Get an appointment in 6 weeks, that kind of thing. So
no church support.
Yeah, extremely. Well, yeah. Well, I think some of these people don't have a lot of money, sort of thing. But indeed. But no. From what I could work, I think the police liaison people weren't so bad. Apparently, Alderhay Hospital was fantastic.
Right.
They get full marks for everything they did.
Well, that's good. Well, it's nice to hear some positive stuff, isn't it?
Sure.
And always, I think, credit where credit's due. It is very easy to criticise, but when you have an institution like, for example, Alderhay Hospital, it's worth making sure people know about it.
Sure, indeed, yeah. So always give good credit where it's due, sort of thing.
But yeah, about what he said in court, because what was it he said? That he said something horrific, didn't he?
Right, indeed. I'm trying to. Well, the fact he didn't. He was glad that he killed those little girls.
Yeah, my understanding, obviously you know more than me, is that he said, "I'm glad they're dead."
Yeah, I know. There's a lack of remorse, and there's a lack of remorse.
Yeah.
To my mind, I shouldn't be laughing because this is a very serious.
No, I know, but sometimes some things are so horrific that laughter is. It's just an instinctual response. I always remember I was involved in a car accident once, and and there was a very elderly driver and his wife, and basically I was in Hampstead. I don't know if anyone knows North London, but there's a big hill, and we were parked, and my ex-husband opened the door of the car and he was getting out, and the driver didn't see, and basically was going so fast he ripped the door off of our car and then crashed. Now everyone was okay, but I was in shock and I was laughing. And someone on the pavement, I'll never forget this, said, "Why are you laughing? This is really serious." But actually, sometimes it's just things are so bad. You do totally inappropriate stuff.
Sure, indeed, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I know exactly what you mean on that. So, no, it's. I'm at a loss for the word, lots of words for the for the people who are the victims of it, particularly the three dead little girls. I had a recent bereavement myself, but
I know you lost your partner, didn't you?
Yeah, I know, but you comfort yourself to a certain extent that she was relatively old. But these were three. These were girls that are 6, 7, 10. They have their whole lives in front of them, and they look to be really nice little girls as well.
I know. I remember you said to me the other day, and I hope you don't mind me saying this on the show, but you said, "I don't often get too emotionally involved, but reading the particulars of this case, it had really got to you. It got to me as well."
Yeah, I know. I wrote about must be a 300-word article on what happened, maybe 400 words on it.
What do you think's next? What's next? I mean, how can we stop this? I mean, I was going to say, how can we prevent this from happening? But prevent is not a good word at the moment. That's the name of the program, of course, that he was reported to 3 times, and they totally cocked it up.
Sure, indeed, yeah. Well, he was stopped carrying a knife 10 times by the police.
What? Oh my God, I had no idea.
10 times.
Well, by the police?
Yeah.
What? And I thought if you were stopped with a weapon, you went straight to prison. Yeah. Obviously, I'm completely stupid. That's not the case.
He's under 18, isn't he? So so yeah, and he was expelled from school, and he returned 2 months later. He returned 2 months later with a hockey stick and a knife, and he started whacking people about. This guy should have been in a young offenders centre.
My God, if there's any candidate for it, based on what you've just told me, I haven't even read that stuff anywhere. That's extraordinary.
Sure. No, if someone needed to be in psychiatric care, but saying that though, it's a world exclusive for us. I was told fairly recently that he was sent to a children's home for a while, so see if they could calm him down. Apparently,
So they weren't just aware about this young guy.
Yeah, world exclusive.
They were really aware. There was extraordinary awareness around how dangerous he was.
Sure. Yeah, and of course, a week before the attack on the 29th, he tried to do the same, didn't he? He was stopped by his father.
Yeah, and his dad talked him down. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
So his dad, why didn't his dad report him? I mean, look, it is his kid. So there's, people have loyalties, however misguided. Yeah. But still, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh, no, I know it's you got children, I got children. We could all spot their moods when they're happy, when they're sad, when they're angry, and what have we.
Yeah, we can pick up on it.
Yeah, Rudder Bacala's family must have known what his mood changed. Apparently changed his mood around the age of 13.
Okay.
And we can't mention the I word. That's either a false narrative or it's being covered up by Starmer and what have we. I as in Islam.
Right.
Let's face it, it has an Al Qaeda manual.
You wouldn't have one of those, would you? Unless you were, following the ideology.
Yeah, it's not like you go down to your local library and say, can I have a Jane Austen book? And an Al Qaeda.
Yeah, no, that's not the norm, is it?
That's not, is it? No. So
no, there's been a massive cover up, and
yeah.
apparently the people that went to prison for the tweets, for
Yeah.
saying basically what's turned out to be true, have got a basis in law to appeal their sentences. Is that right?
Well, that's my understanding. It's obviously not my work. I'm a sort of bar stool lawyer or a barrack room lawyer rather than a real one, But it's actually Free Speech Union who said that, so they may have grounds.
Well, they seem to generally know.
Well, indeed, yeah. And one of the things which is either a scurrilous rumor or is true, which again another exclusive for us. I have been told that he was watched by MI5.
Right. Okay. So not only was he put into a home to try and calm him down, was that like a psychiatric home or normal?
I just think I don't know. I presume his father, he
just couldn't cope, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. His family couldn't cope with him, and so they just said, get him a bit of a rest. He went to the home for a while.
Do you blame the family, or do you think that they just did their absolute best with it?
I blame social workers and the police.
Right.
Probably his parents come from a culture whereby you don't have the state interfering with your day-to-day life like that.
No.
Like here, everyone expects the state to fix all their problems for them. And
but they probably tried to deal with it themselves.
Exactly, yeah.
You can't necessarily blame them for that.
Yeah, no, it's the police who arrested him 10 times. When he was armed.
I'm actually flabbergasted by that. I really am. I can't believe it. If a young man has got a knife on, I mean, that means if they stopped him 10 times, then that means he would have had a knife 1,000 times, especially in these stop and search wary times. With him being black and everything.
Well, indeed, I'm sure there's the element of he's black and we can't arrest him, and we're going to be in trouble if we do. We're going to be accused of racism.
It's just incredible, with all the cover-ups that have happened recently, and unfortunately, what's happening is these cover-ups are counterproductive for the people that they're allegedly supposed to be protecting.
Sure.
Because if there's a cover-up because it's a young black guy, if there's a cover-up because it's a group of guys from one particular community, and in the case of the girls, the Pakistani origin community, who is that worse for? It's worse for the normal law-abiding, completely fantastic members of the relative, the community.
Sure, indeed, yeah. But by the way,
actually protect them.
Indeed, the worst case of political correctness, I don't want to be accused of being racist, was the Manchester Arena bombing. Salma Abedi.
Tell me about that.
Okay, at the inquiry, a young security guard was questioned by the judge.
Yeah.
And he said, well, you obviously saw the terrorist walking around. He said he was looking suspicious. The backpack that he had on him was, particularly large.
Right. And the fact it wasn't a normal backpack. Doing at a little girl's concert anyway, but there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there we go. Is there a thing here about Islamists about hating Christian girls? Is there something in this? They are a target.
I think it's about the shock factor. Actually, I don't think it's a particular hatred. I think it's just so shocking.
Sure, indeed,
little tiny girls. I just, it's just the impact factor. I think personally.
But the young security guard said at the Manchester inquest, I didn't want to stop him because I didn't want to be accused of being racist.
Oh my God! And how many little girls died because of that?
Yeah.
Wow. And if they had stopped him, what would he have done? Would he have just blown himself up? Do you think?
He being challenged. I don't know what he would have done. He may have blown himself up. But maybe he might have tried to run. He probably incriminated himself a lot more. But at least people could have said, "Hit the floor" or something like that. Run,
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Sure.
We've got to a point where it's worse to be accused of racism than to let little girls die by being blown into thousands of little tiny pieces.
Well, indeed, yeah.
Very strange world we're living in, Dave.
Yeah, I know. On the tube, I've I've got on the tube and I've spotted the beardy weirdies, with rucksacks on them, and it's took twice. I've literally got off for the next stop, wait for the next.
Funnily enough, apparently, if you're about to commit or in jihad,
Yeah,
the part of it is shaving.
sure.
I don't know if that's true or not, but
I believe that
you're
might
right.
be true,
I mean,
actually.
who knows?
Sure.
The thing is, you have to go with your instincts, and that
Yeah.
guy, that security guard, had an instinct. There was something wrong, and he
Yeah.
was so frightened of being accused of racism. He was
Yeah.
more frightened of that than following his instincts.
Sure, I know. So, being a journalist, I use the phrase "scum media" very sparingly. Happy to use fake news,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
scum media, I try and not use. I've actually put in tweets. This is fake news, but not strong enough for scum media.
Right. Okay.
So, where are we? Sarah Jane Mead, she's a reporter and presenter with Sky News, and today I saw a recording of her, and she was interviewing this guy from the Liverpool Muslim Forum, and he was saying, "Oh, diversity is our strength, and it's nothing to do with Islam and Muslims and things like that." It really was. That was activism. That wasn't reporting. That was activism.
No, I must admit, I did a New Culture Forum evening with Lois last night, and there was about 20-25 people there, and it was in my hometown, Southport.
Really?
Really nice. And that was, one of the things that we were talking about, the extraordinary bias of the mainstream media, which is activism. It's not journalism, it's activism.
Yeah. Oh, did you see it in? Did you see it outside Liverpool Crown Court?
No.
Sky and the BBC were told to f off and leave.
Really?
Yeah. And they said GB News is welcome.
Well, good, excellent. GB News is welcome.
Exactly.
Brilliant. So, what a week! So we've had the climate and nature bill. We've had the horrific story with regards to the little girls that were murdered and the sentencing of the young guy. I think I'm quite pleased that this week's over. Are you, Dave?
I'm looking forward to my Saturday. So, it's basically for the last 4 or 5 weeks, Labour has had unyielding bad press.
Yeah, relentless, absolutely relentless. Good. I'm glad. I'm not glad that they're being, horrific, but I'm glad in a way that they're being horrific and everyone can see what they actually are. Yeah, exactly, wow. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Just a quick one before we go. Latest breaking news. Latest opinion poll out. It's 25% Reform, 23% Tories, 22% Labour.
Brilliant. Fantastic. I look forward to seeing you next week. So goodbye, Dave. It's goodbye from Lois.
And it's goodbye from David. It's good night from her as well. See ya.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Right.
That was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
Brilliant. I think we can pick out some bits.